What we will be able to put together is a solution that we believe is a good starting point.
Who brokers peace between ancient enemies with no training? Who unites Arab nations and Israel under one covenant? Who bears a Jewish name, operates from a building marked 666, and walks freely between Jerusalem and Riyadh? Who disappears from politics only to reappear when war breaks out? Who fits the biblical description of a prince confirming a covenant with many? The world calls him a diplomat. Prophecy students call him something else. His name is Jared Kushner, and his timing is disturbing. Jared Kushner doesn't give many interviews. He doesn't seek the spotlight. Yet somehow, his fingerprints appear on every major Middle East development of the past decade. While presidents come and go, while administrations change, Kushner remains connected to Israeli prime ministers, to Saudi crown princes, to Emirati royalty, to Egyptian mediators. He operates in the shadows of global power, yet his influence shapes events in broad daylight. Consider his unique position. He's Jewish, giving him credibility in Jerusalem that no Gentile diplomat could match. He married into American political royalty, granting him access to the highest levels of Western power. He built business empires worth billions, creating economic leverage across continents, and he did all of this before turning 40. The mainstream media calls him a senior advisor, a real estate mogul, a political operative, but those titles miss something deeper. They miss the pattern. Because Jared Kushner keeps appearing at prophetic intersections. When the American embassy moved to Jerusalem, the first recognition of Israel's biblical capital in modern history, Kushner championed the decision. When impossible peace treaties united Israel with Arab nations, Kushner brokered the deals. When war erupted in Gaza and hostages faced death, Kushner returned to negotiate their release. He's not elected. He holds no official position. Yet world leaders take his calls. Treaties bear his influence, and prophecy-minded believers can't help but notice. The Bible speaks of a coming prince, a leader who will confirm a covenant with many, a diplomatic figure who brings temporary peace before the storm, someone accepted by Israel, someone with global reach, someone operating at exactly the right moment in history. Could Jared Kushner be that prophetic figure, or is he just the warm-up act for someone even more significant still to come? Jared Corey Kushner was born January 10, 1981, into a world most people never see. His family didn't just have wealth, they had a legacy. His grandparents survived the Holocaust, escaping death in Europe to rebuild their lives in America. That history shaped everything. His father, Charles Kushner, built a real estate empire worth billions. The family became pillars of the Orthodox Jewish community in New York and New Jersey. Young Jared attended Hebrew schools. He observed Sabbath. He studied Torah. His Jewish identity wasn't casual. It was foundational. Harvard accepted him despite average grades. Some say his father's $2.5 million donation helped, but Jared proved himself anyway. He graduated. He earned dual degrees from NYU, law and business. By age 25, he was running billion-dollar deals. Then came a purchase that still raises eyebrows. In 2007, Kushner Companies bought a Manhattan skyscraper for $1.8 billion, the highest price ever paid for a single building in America at that time. The address? 600 Fifth Avenue. That number? 666. The same number Revelation 13:18 identifies with the beast. Pure coincidence, his defenders say, just an address. But prophecy students noticed. They always notice numbers. In 2009, Jared married Ivanka Trump, not just a social wedding, a religious one. Ivanka converted to Judaism, studied with rabbis, changed her name to Yael. The Trump dynasty and Kushner dynasty merged. Political power met religious heritage. When Donald Trump shocked the world by winning the presidency in 2016, Jared suddenly had access to the Oval Office. His father-in-law made him senior advisor, gave him security clearance, handed him the impossible task: solve Middle East peace. Critics laughed. A 36-year-old real estate developer with zero diplomatic experience would negotiate between Israel and her enemies? Absurd. Impossible. Destined to fail. Except he didn't fail. Charles Kushner's story adds another layer. He went to prison for illegal campaign contributions, tax evasion, and witness tampering. His own son-in-law, Jared's future role model, sent him there. Chris Christie prosecuted the case. That betrayal taught Jared about power, loyalty, and revenge. In 2020, President Trump pardoned Charles Kushner. The family was restored. The empire was rebuilt. The connections deepened. But Jared's real education wasn't in business school or law school. It was in understanding how power actually works, through relationships, money, and knowing exactly when to act. For 70 years, the Middle East followed a script. Israel stood alone. Arab nations refused recognition. Peace talks always failed. Camp David tried. Oslo tried. The Quartet tried. Roadmaps and frameworks and shuttle diplomacy, all failures. Every American president attempted Middle East peace. All of them failed. Carter got Egypt. That was it. Decades passed. Billions spent. Expert diplomats with lifelong experience couldn't move the needle. Then came Kushner. No experience, no diplomatic training, just confidence and a different idea. He didn't start with politics. He started with money. His approach was simple. What if peace wasn't about borders and grievances? What if it was about prosperity? What if Arab nations would normalize relations with Israel in exchange for economic development? Investment and technology? The experts scoffed. Too simplistic. Ignore history. Won't work. Kushner didn't care what experts thought. He spent 3 years in quiet meetings, flying to Riyadh, visiting Abu Dhabi, building relationships in Cairo and Doha. He wasn't negotiating treaties. He was building trust. He understood something the experts missed. Arab leaders didn't hate Israel. They feared Iran. Israel had the military and intelligence capabilities they needed. Money could overcome decades of public hostility. The breakthrough came in August 2020. The United Arab Emirates and Israel announced full diplomatic relations. Just announced it. No warning. The world was stunned. Bahrain joined days later. Sudan followed. Morocco normalized. Suddenly, 4 Arab nations recognized Israel. 4 nations that had refused for 75 years all changed position within months. September 15, 2020. The White House lawn. Cameras captured the signing ceremony. Israeli and Arab leaders stood together, shook hands, signed documents. The Abraham Accords became official. That name matters. Abraham, father of Isaac and Ishmael, father of Jews and Arabs, father of 3 faiths, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, the covenant that would unite Abraham's children. Prophecy students immediately noticed the language. Daniel 9:27 warns of a prince who will confirm the covenant with many, not a covenant with one nation, with many, multiple nations, a regional agreement. The Abraham Accords weren't bilateral. They were multilateral. Many nations, one covenant. Economic integration, mutual recognition, shared prosperity. The parallel to Daniel's prophecy was unavoidable. A leader emerges. He confirms a covenant, not through military force but through negotiation. Multiple parties agree. Israel is central. Peace appears possible. World leaders praised Kushner. Time magazine called him one of the most influential people alive. The Nobel Peace Prize Committee received nominations for the Abraham Accords. Former skeptics admitted he'd achieved the impossible. But here's what haunted prophecy observers. The covenant's foundation was economic, not political. Revelation 13 describes the Antichrist's system as economic control. No one can buy or sell without the mark. The Abraham Accords created exactly that framework. Economic integration as the price of peace, trade agreements, investment partnerships, technology sharing, tourism normalization, banking integration, digital cooperation, all requiring interconnected systems, all building the infrastructure for centralized control. Was this prophetic fulfillment, or just good diplomacy? The world celebrated, markets soared, peace seemed possible. But students of Scripture remembered, the Antichrist doesn't come with war. He comes with peace, a false peace, a temporary peace, a peace that allows him to consolidate power before revealing his true nature. And in 2020, Jared Kushner had just given the world exactly that kind of peace. The question was whether he knew what he'd really done. Every prophetic timeline runs through one city, Jerusalem, the city God calls his own, the city that determines the fate of nations, the city where the final drama will unfold. For 2,000 years, Jerusalem remained under Gentile control, exactly as Jesus prophesied in Luke 21:24. Jerusalem will be trampled by Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Babylon conquered it, Rome destroyed it, Muslims controlled it. The British Mandate governed it. Even after Israel became a nation in 1948, Jerusalem stayed divided. The Old City, the Temple Mount, the Western Wall, the ancient heart, remained in Arab hands until 1967. The Six-Day War changed everything. Israel captured East Jerusalem. The Temple Mount came under Jewish sovereignty for the first time since 70 AD. Prophecy students recognized the significance immediately. The times of the Gentiles were ending. The prophetic clock was ticking again, but the world refused to recognize it. No country would move their embassy to Jerusalem. Everyone kept embassies in Tel Aviv. For 50 years, Jerusalem's status remained disputed, politically frozen, prophetically significant, but internationally denied. December 6, 2017, President Trump made an announcement that shocked the diplomatic world. The United States recognizes Jerusalem as Israel's capital. The embassy will move. Behind that decision stood Jared Kushner. He'd pushed for it, advocated for it, convinced his father-in-law that the time was right. Critics warned of violence, diplomatic disasters, regional war. Kushner argued the opposite. Recognize reality, show strength. Arab leaders respect decisiveness. May 14, 2018, exactly 70 years after Israel's founding. The American embassy opened in Jerusalem. Jared Kushner attended the ceremony, smiled for cameras, made brief remarks about peace and prosperity. Prophecy teachers worldwide noted the date, 70 years, a biblically significant number. Daniel's 70 weeks, Jeremiah's 70 years of captivity, and now, 70 years after rebirth, Jerusalem is recognized. The embassy move did something else. It gave Israel international legitimacy regarding Jerusalem. If America, the world's superpower, recognized Jerusalem, other nations would follow. The Abraham Accords proved it. Arab nations normalized relations with Israel despite the Jerusalem issue. That legitimacy matters prophetically, because the Antichrist will make a covenant involving Jerusalem. He'll allow Jewish worship on the Temple Mount. He'll facilitate the Third Temple. None of that works if Jerusalem lacks international recognition. Kushner's role in the embassy decision positioned him as the leader who made Jerusalem acceptable globally, not through war, through diplomacy and economic leverage. Zechariah 12:2-3 warns that Jerusalem will become a burdensome stone for all nations. Everyone who tries to move it gets hurt. Yet Kushner touched Jerusalem's status and emerged stronger. His reputation grew. His influence expanded. The embassy move wasn't just politics. It was prophetic infrastructure, setting the stage, making possible what must happen next. And Jared Kushner, whether he understood it or not, had just unlocked the next phase of the prophetic timeline. Jerusalem was recognized. The covenant with many was signed. The stage was set. All that remained was the final actor to take his position. Scripture doesn't leave us guessing about the Antichrist. The Bible provides specific markers, characteristics, patterns, A profile built across multiple books written centuries apart, yet perfectly consistent. Daniel identifies him first. The people of the prince who is to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. History confirms the Romans destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD. Therefore, the coming prince emerges from that Roman power structure, likely a revived European empire. Verse 27 continues, "Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week." 1 prophetic week equals 7 years. This leader makes a 7-year agreement with multiple nations. Israel is central. The covenant brings apparent peace. But the verse doesn't end there. In the middle of the week, he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. Halfway through 3.5 years, he breaks the covenant. Stop Jewish worship, reveals his true nature. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2:3-4 adds detail. He's the man of lawlessness who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God. He doesn't just reject God, he claims to be God, sits in God's temple, demands worship. Revelation 13 describes his global system. He controls economics. No one buys or sells without his mark. He controls religion. The whole world worships him. He controls the government. 10 kings give him authority. He speaks great things, performs miracles, deceives the nations. 1 John 2:22 gives a theological test. He denies the Father and the Son. He rejects Jesus as Messiah. This suggests he might be Jewish. Only someone from that background could credibly deny Jesus to the Jewish people. Daniel 11:37 adds a puzzling detail. He shall regard neither the God of his fathers nor the desire of women. Interpretations vary. Some say he's homosexual. Others say he rejects marriage. Still others say he abandons his ancestral faith. The consensus profile emerges. A charismatic leader, Jewish or at least acceptable to Jews, connected to European power. A diplomatic genius who brings peace through agreements, not war. Economically savvy, controls global commerce. Initially popular, widely accepted, seemingly benevolent. He doesn't arrive with horns and a pitchfork. He comes with solutions, peace plans, economic prosperity. He solves problems previous leaders couldn't. The world doesn't fear him. They celebrate him. Only later, after the rapture, after the covenant is signed, after 3.5 years pass, does he reveal his true nature. Stop Jewish worship, desecrates the temple, demands worship for himself, launches persecution, brings tribulation. But here's what troubles prophecy students today. That profile, charismatic Jewish diplomat who brokers peace with many nations through economic agreements, describes someone alive right now. It describes a leader who already brought Arab nations and Israel together, who already moved Jerusalem's status forward, who already built global economic networks, who already operates with unprecedented access. The profile describes capabilities and achievements. And when you read that list, one name keeps surfacing. The question isn't whether someone could match this profile. The question is whether someone already has. Revelation 13:16-17 describes a system that seemed impossible for 2,000 years, until now. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Total economic control. No transactions without permission. No commerce without the mark. Global tracking. Centralized authority. Complete surveillance. For centuries, this seemed like fantasy. How could one person control all buying and selling worldwide? Impossible. The technology didn't exist. Now it does. Digital currencies, biometric identification, blockchain tracking, facial recognition, smartphone payments, social credit scores. Every transaction is monitored. Every purchase tracked. The infrastructure is built. But infrastructure needs a reason for implementation. You can't just demand global economic control. You need justification. A crisis. A solution. Something people will accept willingly. Enter Kushner's model. Peace through economic integration. The Abraham Accords weren't just diplomatic. They were economical. Trade agreements. Banking normalization. Digital cooperation. Investment partnerships. Shared infrastructure. Currency coordination. Each signatory nation agreed to economic integration with Israel and each other. Shared systems. Connected markets. Mutual dependency. The more integrated, the harder it is to break the agreement. Think about what that creates. Economies linking. Banking systems coordinating. Digital payments standardizing. Borders opening for commerce. All requiring compatible technology. Shared platforms. Unified systems. Saudi Arabia invested $2 billion in Kushner's firm after he left office. Not charity, not payment for past services. Investment in future influence. The Saudi Public Investment Fund doesn't give away billions without expecting returns. What returns? Access, influence, partnership in Kushner's vision of regional economic transformation, smart cities, digital infrastructure, cashless systems, biometric security. Saudi Arabia is building NEOM, a $500 billion smart city. Everything is digital, everything tracked, everything is controlled through technology. Biometric identification for residents, cashless transactions, AI surveillance, the most advanced technological control system ever designed. The UAE is building similar systems. Israel already has advanced biometrics at borders. Egypt is developing smart cities. Jordan, Morocco, Bahrain, all moving toward digital integration. The Abraham Accords created the political framework. Now the economic infrastructure follows. And that infrastructure looks exactly like what Revelation describes. Kushner didn't create the technology, but he created the political permission to implement it regionally. He made economic integration acceptable, desirable, the path to peace and prosperity. Revelation says the Antichrist will control buying and selling. Kushner's model makes that possible, not through force, but through economic necessity. Nations choose integration. They choose standardization. They choose the system. And once you're in the system, leaving becomes impossible. The very structure of peace becomes the mechanism of control, which raises a disturbing question. Was the Abraham Accords' real purpose peace, or was it building the infrastructure for something far more sinister? Daniel's prince doesn't work alone. He confirms a covenant with many, multiple parties, different nations, diverse interests. That requires relationships, trust, access, influence across boundaries that normally divide. Jared Kushner possesses exactly that network. Start with Saudi Arabia. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, runs the kingdom. He's young, ambitious, and ruthless. He wants to modernize Saudi Arabia, transform the economy, reduce oil dependency, build a new future. Kushner and MBS developed a personal relationship, late-night calls, private meetings, shared vision. When MBS faced international backlash over journalist Jamal Khashoggi's murder, Kushner stood by him. That loyalty matters in Arab culture. MBS remembers. After leaving the White House, Kushner founded Affinity Partners, a private equity firm. Where did his first major investment come from? Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, $2 billion. Critics called it payment for political favors. Kushner called it business. The relationship continues. Kushner still has MBS's ear, still visits Riyadh, still influences Saudi policy, and Saudi Arabia controls Islam's holiest sites. When prophetic events center on Jerusalem and the Temple Mount, Saudi religious authority matters enormously. Move to the United Arab Emirates. Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, MBZ, leads the UAE. He signed the Abraham Accords, built economic bridges to Israel, invested billions in joint ventures. Kushner architected that relationship. MBZ trusts him. Israel presents a different dynamic. Kushner is Jewish, Orthodox upbringing, religious education. He understands Israeli security concerns, speaks their cultural language. Netanyahu worked with him closely. So did Bennett and Lapid. Across Israeli political divisions, Kushner maintains access. Egypt's role is crucial. President Sisi controls Gaza's southern border. Egypt mediates between Israel and Hamas. When the 2025 ceasefire needed a broker, Egypt provided the venue. Kushner had relationships there too, had worked with Egyptian intelligence, built trust over years. Even Qatar, despite tensions with Saudi Arabia and the UAE, maintains dialogue with Kushner. Qatar hosts Hamas leadership, funds reconstruction. Kushner negotiated hostage releases through Qatari channels. Enemies of his allies still take his calls. Europe adds another layer. Kushner maintains connections with European leaders, Davos crowd, financial elite, the global power structure that transcends national governments. These relationships provide legitimacy, Western approval, democratic cover for Abraham Accords' authoritarian signatories. Think about what this network enables. He can call Riyadh and Jerusalem the same day, can coordinate between Abu Dhabi and Cairo, can bring Qatar into conversations with Saudi Arabia, can unite parties who won't speak to each other directly. No current diplomat possesses this range. Not the UN Secretary General, not the US Secretary of State, not European foreign ministers. They have official positions but not personal trust across these divides. Kushner operates differently. He's not bound by bureaucracy, not answerable to voters, not constrained by diplomatic protocol. He's a private citizen with extraordinary access. That makes him more effective than government officials, and more dangerous if his intentions aren't benevolent. Daniel's prince will confirm a covenant with many. That requires exactly this kind of network. Trust from Israel, access to Arab capitals, Western support, economic leverage, personal relationships that transcend politics. Kushner built that network already. The infrastructure exists, the relationships are proven, the trust is established. All that's missing is the final covenant. And if current patterns continue, that moment is approaching faster than anyone wants to admit. Prophecy isn't about isolated events. It's about convergence. Multiple signs appearing simultaneously, pieces coming together, the stage being set completely. For 2,000 years, certain prophetic fulfillments were impossible. Israel didn't exist as a nation. Jerusalem wasn't under Jewish control. Technology couldn't track global commerce. No one could unite Middle Eastern nations. The conditions weren't right. Now they are. Israel became a nation, May 14, 1948. Jesus called Israel the fig tree in Matthew chapter 24, 32, chapter 34. When its branch becomes tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all these things, know that it is near, at the doors. Assuredly, I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place. The fig tree blossomed. That generation is still alive, barely. The oldest are now in their late 70s. Time is running short. Jerusalem came under Jewish control in 1967, the times of the Gentiles ending, as Jesus prophesied. For 57 years now, Israel has held the city. The Temple Mount waits. The Third Temple movement grows stronger. Architectural plans exist. Priestly garments are prepared. Red heifers have been born. Everything is ready, except political permission. Technology reached the point where Revelation 13's economic system becomes possible. Digital currencies, biometric identification, global tracking, cashless societies. What seemed like fantasy in John's day is routine infrastructure now. The Abraham Accords normalized Israel's relations with Arab nations, made regional cooperation possible, created the political framework for a larger covenant, proved that ancient enemies can unite through economic incentives. The embassy move legitimized Jerusalem internationally, gave Israel confidence regarding their capital, made Temple Mount access negotiable rather than impossible. And at the center of these last two developments, the only prophetic prerequisites that required human action rather than technological development, stands one man, Jared Kushner. He didn't make Israel a nation, didn't capture Jerusalem, didn't invent digital currencies, but he did accomplish the diplomatic impossibilities. He did unite the nations around Israel. He did move Jerusalem forward prophetically. Every other piece fell into place through history and technology. But the covenant with many needed a covenant builder, someone with the skills, access, and timing to bring hostile parties together. The convergence isn't just about signs appearing. It's about the right person appearing at the right moment with the right capabilities. Previous generations saw some signs. This generation sees all of them. Previous decades had pieces. This decade has the complete picture. And standing in the center of that picture, holding pieces everyone said couldn't fit together, is a man the world calls a diplomat. But prophecy might call something else entirely. So is Jared Kushner the Antichrist? We cannot say with certainty. Scripture tells us believers won't be here to see the Antichrist revealed. The rapture happens first. We'll be gone before the covenant is confirmed. But are we watching a dress rehearsal? Is the stage being set for events we'll miss because we're called home first? The evidence suggests yes. Is Kushner himself the final figure? Or is he preparing the way for someone else? A forerunner, a pattern, a shadow of the true prince yet to come. The parallels are too precise to ignore. The timing is too significant. The capabilities are too aligned. The network is too perfect. Whether he knows it or not, whether he intends it or not, whether he's the actual fulfillment or merely the template. Jared Kushner has accomplished exactly what Daniel prophesied a coming prince would do. He's confirmed covenants with many. He's brought apparent peace. He's built the economic infrastructure. He's positioned himself at the center of Middle East prophecy. The question isn't whether these events matter prophetically. They clearly do. The question is what happens next, and how much time remains before the final curtain rises on history's last act. The Abraham Accords hold for now, but Daniel says the covenant lasts 7 years before being broken. We're 5 years in. What happens when year 7 arrives? What happens if the peace fails? Or worse, what happens if it succeeds so well that something even bigger becomes possible?